Hey, what's up everyone? Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye here, and I want to break down what Sony is doing with their a6000 line of cameras. Should you buy the Sony a6000, a6300, or the a6500? Now, I didn't see a lot of videos. I know Jason Lanier put out his own version of this right around the same time I pretty much made this, but I think that there's a distinction. I have a couple different points from that as well, of which camera is for which, and if the 6300 is a useless camera anymore or if it's cannibalized. So let me break some of this down for you and let's have a discussion about it. I have been heavily into the a6000 line of cameras. I got the a6000 pretty much when it came out for the most part. I have a complete review on that, and I got the a6300 on release date as well. I got that, and I also did a full review on that, so check those out so that way you can really see in-depth breakdown and real-world examples of how it works. So I know a lot about these a6000 line of cameras. The a6500 was a surprise announcement, and a lot of people who just bought a6300s are super peeved because it's now new. It's now outdated if you want to think about that. And I believe the a6500 is shipping the first or second week of November of 2016. So I got some notes just to remind myself of some things, but let's break it down. What are these cameras for? Now, I'm going to go from the lowest line towards the front. And once again, the body is pretty much the exact same. There's a couple tweaks and interesting things that they added as they went with the 6300 over the a6000. But you know, they all do 24 megapixels. They have 11 frames per second. The autofocusing has improved a little bit in some. I'll get more specifics. But it's still a crop sensor camera, one memory card, and still this small battery, low battery life, and a lot of this. But with the a6000, you got an amazing, innovative camera that Sony put out. Right now, it's about $600 to $700 with a lens. I think it's like $550 for the body only. But you don't have a touchscreen with it. Once again, for what it was when it first came out, it was very innovative. It gave you the portability that nothing else really gave to you, and it was very high quality. It did 1080p video at 30 frames a second, so it really wasn't a video-focused camera, but it had great video capabilities. And when Sony was doing things, they kind of noticed that they needed to work on that more. That's why they went with the 6300. The a6000 is someone really getting into the field and really touching the first mirrorless camera, I feel, or kind of in the Sony line. And it's a great stills camera. So if you don't want any video features, I think the a6000 is pretty much one of the best choices because you can even save a lot on it because it's not over $1,000. It's very affordable for what it is. But it didn't have a touchscreen. It was articulating. It wasn't fully articulation, which was kind of a deal back then, but not really. That wasn't the big hope for something like that. And it did 11 frames per second, and once again, it had 24 megapixels, so it pretty much got you exactly what you needed, as the crop sensor standard has been about 24 megapixels as it is. But people were saying, we want to put a mic on it because you could not put an external mic into it. They had no input. It was just like an HDMI, mini HDMI input. So people were like, we can't really do a lot of video with this. Can you work on something? Sony listened, and they came out with the Sony a6300 for $1,000 for the body only, $1,150 with the lens. Now, I did upgrade from my 6000 to the 6300 because it was a video play, and that's what it is between those cameras. It's definitely a video play in regards to that. You got 4K capability with the a6300. You got 1080p at 120 frames per second for amazing slow motion. You weren't restricted or anything like that. You did get a little bit of a crop, but it looked absolutely gorgeous. Once again, check out the footage I did in New York down in the description below. But once again, same 11 frames per second. It is definitely faster autofocusing wise from the a6300. The buffer wasn't changed that much. It was still a non-touch screen, still the same tilt screen. It did have a mic jack, and that was the biggest thing people started to go crazy over. I could finally use my Rode video mic jack, so that was something huge added at the time. It was weather sealed, and it even gave S-Log for video, so that way you could shoot more flat and color grade as you went along. So this became more of a video-centric camera. Still did amazing stills like the a6000 did, but if you want a video, this is a great camera to have. Now the issue became the 6500. What does this do to the 6300 and to the other lines? So with the 6500, it included things that the Sony a6300 should have had, and that's why myself, and that's why I sold it, and other people were absolutely annoyed about this. It should have had a touchscreen. It should have a headphone jack. It should have had in-body stabilization and some other things as well, and to deal with overheating issues that I've experienced a little bit, not a lot, and other people have experience with that camera. But now the a6500, it is about $1,400. Once again, coming November in 2016, so very shortly. It does have a touchscreen. DP Review basically said it's kind of the same thing where you just put it up to your eye and you can move the touchscreen around. I wish they kind of had a jog dial, but you know, it is for what it is for with that camera. This is going to be more of a faster camera. You have a faster buffer with 5-axis in-body stabilization that you can last for a longer amount of time. Still has a mic input, still weather sealed, gives you S-Log, gives you 4K video, that's 1080p again. So you're getting a lot of what the 6300 had, but what the 6500 now has that the 6300 had. It's a little confusing, I know. But there is still no headphone jack, and there's still no fully articulated screen. And once again, the touchscreen still isn't what it should be. So really, it's the a6500 is still the video play. If you want stills, I think if stills is your primary focus, then you want to do video. The a6000 is well worth the money. Amazing quality, I don't care what anyone says. If you want to do photography mainly, get that camera, save yourself a lot of money, over half of what it is, almost 3/4. But if you want to do video, I think the 6300 is also a great aspect if you can get it for around $900 to $1,000. If you need these advanced features, the 5-axis in-body stabilization is a big deal. They priced it at a weird price point because maybe if it was at $1,600, I'd find more of a separation in the line, but because it's so close, it is a tough call with something like this. So the a6300, I don't think is a dead camera. I think it's still going to have its place in line for someone that doesn't need those features because the touchscreen really isn't a big feature. But it really just comes down to what you're shooting and what you want to do. I think because of the bigger buffer and the more versatile you get with the 6500, and if you want to do a lot of the still side of things, you want this for faster photography. You want it for the wildlife. You want it for the sports. Something that can keep up with what you need as you shoot in succession. The 6300 is going to be a little slower. It's weird because that autofocusing is really fast, but the buffer isn't there. So maybe more events, wedding stuff if you can afford 8 batteries that you can go shoot with it. I think that's the big separation is if you have a 6300 right now, I think if you just bought one, you probably don't need to return it. But once again, if you wanted to shoot something faster, I think the 6500 is the better option. The 6300 is an amazing option if you want to be just a little slower. I think the video is going to work around the same. But once again, the 5-axis in-body stabilization without needing gimbals and blah, 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 I think is going to be a great thing. But once again, we really haven't seen anything yet. And I'm going to Photo Plus very shortly, so hopefully this comes out before then. And I'm going to do my best to get hands-on with it if they let me. And I'm going to do my best to review it anyway. So, 6000, if you're mainly stills-based, buy that camera. 6300, all depending on what you're shooting, I think that's a good camera to have, and I don't think it's dead. 6500, if you want something top-notch, you know, and I know that compares to the Fuji and everything out there, but every camera has its place. It just sucks that they came out with it literally 6 months or 7 months, essentially after they released a brand new a6300. So that's a little lame, but it has its place out there. Let me know your comments down below. If you have any questions about anything, please leave those down in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you out and to inform you maybe on a decision purchase or not purchase. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's a bit long, but there's a lot to talk about, and this is a pretty serious question for someone invested in this Sony a6000 line of cameras. What do you buy next? Or grass to the guy with the eye. Keep an eye out. Because Sony will probably have the a700 out by January that will have a fully articulating screen that's touch and maybe dual SD cards.